Okay, this presentation is all about speed. So let's think about a car. If it travels at 80 kilometers per hour, what does that actually mean? Well, it means that it can travel 80 kilometers in 1 hour. So if it can do that, then it can do twice as much in 2 hours, 160 kilometers, and 240 kilometers in 3 hours, and so on. It doesn't have to mean that it's travelling constantly at the same speed. It just means that that's its speed over the whole period on average. So write that down if you're taking notes, pause the film. And moving on, here's a question. Car travels 245 kilometers in 3 hours and 20 minutes. What is its average speed in kilometers per hour? So what we're trying to find out is how many kilometers it can go in 1 hour. So write that down, and here comes the answer. So the information we have is that it travels 245 kilometers in 3 hours and 20 minutes. 3 hours and 20 minutes is 200 minutes, so that's the same as saying 245 kilometers in 200 minutes. Well, if we know how far it can go in 200 minutes, then we can work out how far it can go in 1 minute. Just divide everything by 200, and that comes to 1.225 kilometers in 1 minute. Now, if we know how much it can go in 1 minute, we can find out how much it can go in 1 hour just by multiplying everything by 60, because there are 60 minutes in an hour. So if we do that, we get 73.5 kilometers it can go in 1 hour. So that's the speed, 73.5 kilometers per hour. So write that down if you're taking notes. And then example 2 is a particularly difficult, challenging one, so you may need to look over it a couple of times to follow it. But here we go. The car travels for 20 minutes at 90 kilometers per hour, then for 30 minutes at 120 kilometers per hour. What is its average speed over the whole journey? Well, just write that down if you're taking notes. Now, the thing to be careful of here is it's not just the average of 120 and 90, because it's not going for the same time at those two speeds. So you can't just take the two numbers and add them up and divide by 2. So this is what we do need to do. We'll think about the first part of the journey first, 20 minutes at 90 kilometers per hour. So 90 kilometers per hour means that it can travel 90 kilometers in 1 hour, but in fact it's only traveling for 20 minutes, so we need to find out how many kilometers it's going to go in those 20 minutes. So we'll divide everything by 60 to find out how far it goes in 1 minute, and then we'll multiply everything by 20 to find out how many kilometers it goes in the actual 20 minutes that it's travelling for. And if you do all that, it works out to 30 kilometers that it can travel in 20 minutes. So that's the first part. The car travels for 30 kilometers in the first 20 minutes. So write that down if you're taking notes, and we'll think about the second part of the journey now. The second part of the journey, it travels for 30 minutes at 120 kilometers per hour. So that means that it can travel 120 kilometers in 1 hour, but it's not actually travelling for 1 hour, it's only travelling for 30 minutes. So we can divide everything by 60 to find out how far it travels in 1 minute, and then multiply everything by 30 to find out how far it travels in the 30 minutes that it's actually travelling for. And if you do that, it comes to 60 kilometers, so it travels 60 kilometers in the 30 minutes. Now, you might have spotted a shortcut there, that 30 minutes is half of an hour, so 60 is just half of the 120. And it's fine if you can spot a shortcut like that, but there's not always a shortcut to be spotted, so it's good to be armed with the method of being able to find out how much 1 is and then multiplying it up. So write that down if you're taking notes, and then let's look at the information we've got so far. 30 kilometers in 20 minutes, followed by 60 kilometers in 30 minutes. So overall, it's travelled 90 kilometers in 50 minutes. If it travels 90 kilometers in 50 minutes, then on average in 1 minute, it travels 1.8 kilometers. Just divided everything by 50 to find that out. So if that's how far it travels in 1 minute, we can find out how much it travels in 1 hour by multiplying everything by 60. So that means that it travels 108 kilometers in 1 hour, making the average speed 108 kilometers per hour. So write that down if you're taking notes, and then there should be some questions for you to practice.